tonight for the victims of Harvey, and also Hurricane coming out.
We're live.
Never been down to Vegas.
What these guys did. So anyway, just so that you're
That's the worst thing that kids should do. It's hard to go back and forth on this. It's like the hell. Of course, there's one on the screen too. For an area that they need to focus on.
Call the meeting to order at this time. Roll call.
Mayor Grimes?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Higgins?
Here.
Councilmember Smith?
Here.
Councilmember Wallstrom?
Here.
And Councilmember Whitney?
Here.
Everyone's present, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're going to have an invocation here in just a minute, but what I want to remind everybody about is that I want to have all of us have a moment of silence before the prayer on behalf of the victims of Harvey. Tremendous storm, a lot of devastation. I was reminded also by one of our council members that remember the heroes that picked up the slack there and really helped a lot of people. And you know, there were even some of them that died as a result. I don't know if anybody knows that, but there was a couple of them that passed away, lost their lives during the rescue. And I want us all to remember also, we got Hurricane Irma coming on shore now. It's a Category 5. It's getting ready to hit the East Coast, so more devastation. We complain about the heat here in California, but I tell you, it sure beats the hurricanes. So if you will, please stand at this time. We'll have a moment of silence, and then we'll have Eustace Laurie from the Seventh-day Adventists to come forward to the microphone. Following the prayer, we'll have Chris Kirk lead us in the flag salute.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much, Lord, for life. We thank you for taking care of all of our needs that we sometimes take for granted. Lord, we're truly blessed to be here at this time and having to only worry about heat. Lord, before I ask for prayer over this meeting, I would ask that you be with the families of those who are still dealing with the effects of Hurricane Harvey. Be with those who have lost loved ones. Be with those with the oncoming Hurricane Irma, Lord, as they prepare for that on the East Coast. Lord, be with all of them and strengthen them during this time. Father, I ask that you be with this meeting and invite your Holy Spirit, your spirit of wisdom amongst this meeting, that the decisions made will be done in a fair spirit, Lord, and that you will be honored above all else. Lord, I ask that you please be with every family that is represented in this room. You know the sacrifices that everyone has done to be here at this time. just as he continues to watch over and bless each home that's represented. Lord, we thank you and we love you. In the powerful name of Jesus, I pray. Amen.
Amen. If you would face the flag, salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our next order of business is the consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine and non-controversial by city staff. Consent items will be considered first and may be approved by one motion if no member of the council or audience wishes to comment or ask questions. If comment or discussion is desired by anyone, the item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered in listed sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the city council concerning the item before action is taken. At this time, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to have something removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, council?
Motion to approve consent. Second.
Got a motion to approve and a second on the item as discussed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed? Let the record show 5 ayes. The City Council welcomes public comments on any items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. We respectfully request that this public forum be utilized in a positive and constructive manner. Persons addressing the council should first state their name and area of residence, the matter of city business to be discussed, and the organization or persons represented, if any. Please keep in mind that you have a total of 3 minutes to make the presentation. And at this time, is there anybody in the audience that wishes to make a comment?
My name is Carl Garrett. I live in the city, I work in the city, and as Mountain Festival Chairman, I personally want to thank the great job that the city has done to help me. Without you guys, I'd be in a world of hurt. And guys, what can I say? You know, the only thing I can say is thank you. And it went reasonably well. It was kind of warm, so the ice cream guy sold a lot of ice cream. Okay, I have one other item that I bring before the council, and I told Chris what it's got. Railroad Park is a nice park where people coming through, stopping and sitting down under the trees and enjoying themselves. But last night, or this morning, I guess, Chief, there are people, those who aren't as fortunate as maybe some of us, who are sleeping in the park. There's no liquor allowed in the park. There's no smoking allowed in the park. And I'd like to see some kind of ordinance where after midnight, you don't need to sleep in the park. And this morning, Chief, I guess 2 of your officers went out, and I guess Ida called them regarding, they tore down the fence kind of in the back of the chamber office, and a couple of times, I have seen the bedrolls underneath the back corner where that donkey thing is, and people are sleeping. So, yes, the park is for those driving through, but, you know, do we really want somebody sleeping there while our people are driving through, and there could be some trouble? And I guess this guy had all his belongings and everything else. I guess the chief could tell a little bit more than what I can. But I would like to see an ordinance where, say after midnight or whatever, or what, I don't know what time, that's going to be up to the powers to be, that there's no actually sleeping in the park. That's for, you know, our guests driving through, it's for them to stop, and I think that's why it was originally started, Ed, you know, is to make some place where people driving through to stop, rest, and have their picnic. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the audience? Seeing none, let's move on to item number 5, district-based elections, and I'll turn that over to
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We needed a law firm that has some expertise in this unique issue, and our representative will explain what that is. I want to introduce her from the firm of Richards, Watson, and Rashawn, their Irvine office. They dealt with this on a regular basis. Ms. Justina Aziz, and I'd like her to come forward and present the staff report and her recommendations.
We actually have two issues that we have to deal with, A and B. And the B section will be an open hearing. But I wanted to clarify that before we get into
Thank you. That's
the
good.
issue.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Good evening, members of the City Council and Honorable Mayor. I will start by summarizing the staff report that I've prepared before you today and then take questions that you may have. As you are aware, the City Council is currently elected through an at-large election system, which means that the City Council members can reside anywhere in the city, and they're elected through a citywide vote by the voters of the whole city for citywide representation. On July 24th, 2017, the city received a letter from Mr. Kevin Shankman of Shankman & Hughes alleging that the city's at-large election system violates the California Voting Rights Act, or the CVRA, and he threatened litigation if the city does not change its election system from an at-large system to a district-based election system. The CVRA is based in large part on the Federal Voting Rights Act, but it lowers the threshold for a plaintiff to state a cause of action, so it makes it a lot easier for a plaintiff to bring a case alleging a violation of the California Voting Rights Act. Because of the lower threshold, cities and other jurisdictions throughout the state of California have faced challenges to their at-large election system, and a lot of those jurisdictions, in order to avoid litigation, have changed their election system to a district-based election system. For those cities that have decided to defend the lawsuit, no city or other jurisdiction has prevailed on the merits of the California Voting Rights Act lawsuit, and after those cases are over, they were also liable for plaintiff's attorney's fees and costs as allowed under the California Voting Rights Act. So with this background, staff recommends that council consider the transition from at-large to district-based elections in order to avoid the potential risk of litigation and the lawsuit that could result in millions of dollars in attorney's fees. The Elections Code sets forth the process for switching from at-large to district-based elections, and it requires holding 4 public hearings, 2 before drawing the district maps and 2 after drawing the district maps. And the purpose of those hearings is to receive public input regarding the composition of the different districts. And both federal and state law provide certain criteria for drawing those districts, and those criteria are listed in the staff report, and they would also be in the resolution establishing the criteria that is before you tonight. So if the city concurs with staff's recommendation, the city would be hiring a professional demographer to assist in drawing districts. And so city council would proceed tonight based on that recommendation with adopting the 2 resolutions that are before you. The first resolution being a resolution of intent to transition to district-based elections. The second resolution would be the resolution establishing the criteria of how to draw these districts. And then also tonight to hold the first of those 4 public hearings that I've explained to receive public comments regarding the time frame for switching to districts as well as the composition of the districts. This concludes my summary of the staff report, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions that anybody from the audience has regarding this issue right now?
You know my name out there. You know what, guys? We went through the hospital. We went through the Walmart. some stupid attorney writes a letter and says, I'm going to sue you people if you don't do exactly what I say. You know, how much are we going to be blackmailed into doing exactly what some attorney who's trying to earn a living, well, he's making all of this by saying, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to sue you if you don't do what you say. And for number one, I got a guy that going to represent me if this happens. He don't even live in the damn city. He lives outside, and yet he wants to represent me? Nah. I hope we don't go through blackmail once again.
Just let me say that this is the law. This is the law, and we have to follow the law. And that's what we're charged with doing.
Let me amplify, that's correct. Let me amplify a little bit on that. Some cities have, as we've been told, have resisted.
Right.
And I'm sympathetic with Carl's point of view. But they pay huge attorney's fees. No district, no city has won that litigation. Palmdale paid $4 million in legal fees. And that's just the beginning. So there's some practical aspects to what you're being asked to do here. And if you don't want to kowtow to the attorney, this is how you not kowtow to them. You go ahead and abide by the law. Otherwise, they're going to sue you, and then you're really going to be paying the piper.
And then you're liable to force something down your throat that you really don't want.
I'd like to say also that I couldn't agree more with Carl. This is Sacramento at its worst. As a matter of fact, I do not believe districting is the best for the city of Tehachapi. Representation, I believe, will go down. So this is going to be similar to the county of Kern and the city of Bakersfield. The county of Kern has 5 districts, and within the district you have the opportunity to run for office and become elected if the voters choose to elect you or your competition. But it doesn't reflect the true identity of our community. It's a sad day in the city of Tehachapi. The lawyers are running the show. Christina works for us, obviously, so I don't want anybody to beat up on her. She's representing our best interests, right? So she is a friend, not a foe. The foe is an attorney out of Malibu, California, and he thinks he knows best, and the state of California agrees with him. It's a very sad day.
Any other questions from the public?
Hello, my name is Mary Lou Corpus Amudio. I live at 1360 Wildella here in Tehachapi. I don't have a question, I just have a comment. My understanding is that my name appeared in this litigation that we're going through because I am a Hispanic, I was running for city council member, and I am Hispanic, classified Hispanic. And I just want it to be known that I did not win because I didn't have enough campaign money, the voters didn't choose me, and I didn't work hard enough. It's not because I am Hispanic. And the public needs to understand that if you want to win, you work hard, you have the money, and you have the support. This is the council members that were chosen from Tehachapi, not because of their race or nationality. I do believe that. But also, we have to listen to our attorneys. Not that I agree with them, because I don't think that this is the way the election should go. But that's my opinion. In the long run, we have to do what our attorneys say, because that is why they're hired for the city of Tehachapi. So that's just my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Just keep in mind that we are a rule of law city. And when laws are passed, we're obligated to follow the law. And we will do that. Now, there's a process that we're going through tonight, which the city manager noted, and so did the city attorney, that gives us an opportunity throughout the whole process to help with the demographer, to help the demographer draw up the lines. You know, we don't want it to be drawn up and we'd not have a say in it. At least the process that we're going through allows us to have some leeway, some say in how it should be. So I would think it is anyway. Can you
I can comment on that. Yes, so the purpose of those 4 public hearings is for the public as well as the city council to comment on, for example, the communities of interest in the city of Tehachapi and who they think would be, for example, the neighborhoods that should stay together in the same district, or if there's different schools and they represent different communities of interest, that those should be kept in the same district. So there's definitely a process for getting input and making sure that those communities of interest are protected and they stay together.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other comments from the public?
Mr. Graham, did you want to pass the resolution first and then start the public comment, or are you kind of blending them together, or just for clarification? We can continue on this road if you like, but
What's the council?
continue to hear the
Yeah,
public.
go ahead.
Yes, absolutely.
My name is Socorro Schmidt. I live in the city. I have always lived in the Tehachapi Valley. I've never been out of here except for an education. And I do want everybody to understand that this is a capitulation. We are capitulating to somebody that doesn't even know anything about us. And I just think that there should be some kind of activity, some kind of movement that ought to stop this blackmail, shall we say. It's just blackmail. And I hate that we have to capitulate to that. Thank you.
I know there's somebody else that raised their hand.
Good evening, my name is Jim Roberts. I live in the city, and I'd like to agree with what Mrs. Schmidt just said. And I also have a question. There seems to be a broad paintbrush sweep all cities. Does this also include, are we not a general law city? Are we a general law city?
Yes.
Hello? Thank you. Bakersfield is a charter city.
Right.
And so it includes general law cities apparently. As it's written, that includes general law cities. I'm getting to see a lot of heads nodding. But what about Mojave? What about Cal City, the largest city in the state? And probably the least populated for its size. We have to have their areas set aside for whatever it is you're trying to break down. To me, we're just succumbing to something that isn't really necessary, and it's just being rammed down our throats. Thank you.
Any other comments? What we're doing here tonight is to adopt a resolution declaring the council intent to transition to district-based elections, and to, number 2, adopt a resolution establishing criteria for single-member voting districts for the election of council members. That's what we're doing in the first phase. At this time, is there any question that you have here from the council regarding those 2 issues? Can we have one motion that takes care of both?
As long as there's no council objection.
Okay. Do I have a motion then to go with staff recommendation?
So move upon staff's recommendation
That's both resolutions.
for both resolutions.
Second.
I got a motion and a second on the issue as discussed to adopt the resolution declaring council intent to transition to district-based elections, and number 2, to adopt the resolution establishing criteria for single-member voting districts for the election of council members. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let the motion show that the motion was, or the voting was 5-0 affirmative. Item number 2, at this time, this is a public hearing. I'm going to open the hearing. A notice of hearing, was there any correspondence?
There was no correspondence received.
Okay. I need to receive public comment. If there is any more public comment regarding this issue, yes, please.
Professor Mark Reynolds, Tehachapi resident for 44 years. Question, I believe it was answered, but I want to be very clear that it was in fact answered, and that is to the issue of the election code provision number 1 that provides that both general laws and charter cities embrace this law. Is that correct? I saw the head shaking, but let me get a clarification and a citation to the elections code.
Okay, so it was actually the Court of Appeal that held that, sorry. It was actually the Court of Appeals that held that the California Voting Rights Act applies to both charter cities and general law cities. So it's based on case law.
And not code law, but case law.
Right.
Okay, do you have that case?
I can get that. I can get that to case separation.
Thank you very much.
If you can get that to us, we'll pass it on to you, Ms.
Thank you,
Reynolds.
sir.
Yep.
Okay, is there any other public comment at this time?
Good evening, I'm David Benham. I currently live in Golden Hills. I guess this is a question about how the districts will be drawn. I don't know if this is the time to ask that or not, but are they going to be population based or registered voter based?
Good question.
So one of the first criteria actually is that they would be as nearly equal in population, being the total population as possible, and there's a little bit of room for deviation in terms of population, but they're based on the total population.
Okay, and what is roughly the current population of Tehachapi? Anybody know?
9,700-ish. We're using the census, the 2010 census at this point. That's what we're required to use.
And does that population include the prison?
That does not. No, the number I just gave you does not. With the prison, it's 14 and change.
Will these districts have to include the prison population?
We talked about that. Can you address that? The prisoners are not registered voters, so they cannot vote. But how is that going to work? Can you further explain that?
So there's no clear California law on whether prisons are included or excluded from that total population. There's introduced new legislation that talks about that issue with respect to state districting. I mean, the demographer would be able to know the exact standards of which populations include and exclude. I would think that they should not be included because they're not residents of the city, but prison records are really are not the best, and so you can't tell who the prison actually is from the city of Tehachapi. So I would think they would be excluded, but the demographer can address that issue.
The prison population is so fluid also. You may be here this week and next week you're gone to San Quentin. You know, that's just the way it is.
And just one more comment, more of a suggestion, that any vote that would move forward on what the boundaries actually are, you might consider making it a supermajority vote, 4-1 vote, or a unanimous vote to require those boundaries to take into effect. Just a suggestion.
I think a lot of those questions can be answered after we hire the demographer and they come up with you know, a system of how we're going to do things. That'll generate more questions.
Christina, do we have any response to the letter? I think his question about supermajority and so forth. Does he have to say anything about that?
Because this is not going to be an urgency ordinance, it doesn't require a supermajority, it simply requires a majority of city council members to approve it in order for the ordinance to pass at the end of this process.
We can't change that rule as a council.
Not that I'm aware of, because it's a general law city, so we can't. We don't have the charter to say what we want it to be.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none at this time, I'm going to close the hearing. I don't think there's any action that we have to take on this particular part, is there? Just be informed that, that this is something that hit us kind of sudden-like. I think I have to agree with Carl and some of the others that that spoke that, you know, we don't like it, or I don't like it. I've lived here for almost 70 years, and the way we elect our council members has been good enough for me. Been good enough for a lot of other people, but sometimes we don't have a say in that. And when a law is passed in Sacramento, if you want, Carl, write all the letters you can to Sacramento, because they're the ones that put this on us. Not you know, this is a friendly attorney here, like was said before. You know, she's the messenger, so let's not you know, make her the goat of it. So, any other questions?
Just a comment. That was a very good question regarding the prison population, because the background on that, the state allows us to use their population for revenue purposes. So that's something I really kind of want to get nailed down, you know.
But they don't have the right to vote.
Well, I think we really, we want to make sure that we don't have a population that, you know, be 2/5 of our city or whatever, you know what I mean? But the reason for it, the background was to be able to get the revenue from the, is that called pro rata taxation, taxes that we get from the population?
I believe so. It's connected to D&B registration tags and the road money that flows from Sacramento, correct?
We do have an impact from the prison being there. I mean, with the people that visit and everything. For whatever reason, we are allowed to use that population, but for this, it sounds like this will not be part of the, it sounds like, you know, those quotations we use, we want to be sure. Anyway, that's a very good question. Yep.
Question. One more question. Professor Reynolds, City of Tehachapi resident, 44 years. The plaintiff that is leading this lawsuit that was brought in, the letter was received from the council's office. What is the legal standing of that plaintiff, if council knows? Are they a resident of the city? What is the criteria by which you become a plaintiff in the lawsuit that affects the city of Tehachapi?
Can you reopen the hearing, Mayor, so that her comments can be on the record?
Thank you so much.
Go ahead and reopen the hearing.
Okay, I'm going to reopen the hearing at this
Thank
time,
you, Mayor.
so that can be.
And then ask Justina to address that.
Thank you so much, Mayor.
So, the California Voting Rights Act has a standing provision that requires a potential plaintiff to be a resident voter of the city. So they actually have to live in the city and be a voter. The issue is because we received the letter, we're not in litigation, so we haven't conducted any discovery to figure out who this person specifically is.
Well, don't you need to know that?
Yes,
don't you need to know that?
they're listed on in the letter itself.
I'd love to know that name and where they reside.
Well,
They have no standing otherwise.
Well,
They have no standing.
hold on. Let's keep order here. Is that letter available to the public or not?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear her comment. Are we talking about the Schenkman letter? Yeah, it's available to the public.
It's in your packet, it's in the packet in the back, and we can certainly get you that also, Ms. Reynolds, if you like.
Thank you.
Yep, so it's an attorney from Malibu, California.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Now, I'm going to close the hearing again. Any comments from the council regarding this issue?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I just have one comment. You know, having driven around town for many years, we have, it's either 5 or 6 signs that have different numbers on them for the population. You know, the one on the highway says 14,000 something, one in town says 12,000 something. Is there anything that we could do just to basically clean that up a little bit so we at least have the same message coming out to anybody coming into town, you know, what our current population is? I think it's important because, you know, that's who we are. Those numbers are who we are, and it's important that everybody understand that. That's the only comment that I have. You know, going back to what was mentioned about the prison population, I I think we should look into that and take that very seriously, because we all recall what happened in the last election. There were privileges that were granted for voting in elections. And when that happens, that bleed over could potentially come our way. And the clarity on that, I think, is very, very important. That's the only comment and issue that I have. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I agree with Mr. Smith and Mr. Headkey's comment about the president. Couldn't agree more, actually, and that's already been discussed. We're going down that road. As far as the city limit signs of population, all the city-owned signs are the same. Caltrans signs are in error, and we've been trying to get Caltrans to update those for years, but we will continue to try to get them to update those signs.
Okay, great, thank you.
Magic marker or something?
I just want to say that this is like a bad present that we were given, and I've talked to people all over East Kern County who were kind of chiding us, but I told them, just calm down because your letter will be coming soon. This isn't something that we were picked out just because, and this is going on all over the state of California, and we don't like it. But the only recourse we have is like the mayor said to Carl, start writing letters, because this is ridiculous that we have to be taken hostage. But we are not going to be the only ones. It seems like they're moving from Los Angeles this way, and that's going to include school districts, special districts, who knows? So it's not a good thing, but we have to comply with the law.
They're also moving from the north to the south in the Central Valley.
Yeah. See?
You didn't hear that.
Let me say just one other thing, and or did you want to say something?
Yeah, it might just be for clarification, Justina, that this will impact special districts as well. Is that correct? Their elections. I
Yes.
mean, they're on the list, maybe not right this moment, but it's going to impact any elected body.
Yes, so school districts have also been receiving letters, and so it's not only cities. And at one point of, can I clarify something that was said earlier? The entity that's listed on the letter, it's Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, and it's an entity that has appeared on a lot of the letters that cities have been receiving. And it was involved in at least one lawsuit involving the city of Rancho Cucamonga. And the Southwest Voter Registration Education Project was a plaintiff, and they were the ones that sort of pursued the litigation.
My comment was that they're going from the north to the south in the Central Valley. There have been several northern cities in San Joaquin Valley that have received these letters.
And a clarification for Mr. Roberts, you had mentioned Mojave. Mojave's not a city, it's actually a county island, so they're represented by Zach Scribner. And as far as I know, California City has not received the letter, but I would be not surprised if it's in the mail already with all of our neighbors around. And also I'd like to take this opportunity to ask the council's blessing to work on and present to you in conjunction with this project, going from a general law city to a charter city. There are some pretty big benefits when you're a charter city compared to a general law city. It may be very ambitious to do it at this point along with this project, but you have a great team and we may be able to pull it off, but there are certain timelines that would need to be met in conjunction. But with your blessing, I don't think we need a motion, but we can certainly look into that and bring something back to you at the next council meeting.
Bravo.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea myself, because we need to be more informed about what a charter city can do and cannot do. So, one other thing, I want to tap a little bit on what Ken said about the inmate population. The one thing we don't want, the one thing we do not want and cannot tolerate is for inmates to run this city. And I'm telling you right now, I will stand in front of Sacramento and fight them to the end on that issue. I worked for the prison system for 38 years. I guarantee you, you do not want inmates influencing an election. We can't have that. We must not have that, and we must fight that with all we're worth. I hope you understand what I mean by that. We can't let that happen. Any other questions?
In that regard, that would be a matter of de-annexing. We annex the population for the taxation purpose, so if that came down the line, we'd have to forego the tax revenue, which I think would be what we would have to do. Is that correct, Tom?
Well, I don't know. You'd leave it for the county to have to deal with, because if they can vote in the county too. So, but you're right.
Yeah.
It would probably get you off the hook if there is some benefit to the prison, if the prisoners can vote or determined to be able to vote.
All right. Interesting how that comes back around. It's very positive revenue flow for the city, and all of a sudden, yikes. So I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you.
Okay.
I'd like to say something, Ed.
Okay.
This is just another way of Sacramento trying to shove something down our throat that we don't believe in. And I know that the few people that come here, some of the stuff we do is pretty mundane. This is not mundane. And I would ask you that you talk to your friends and neighbors and whatever and get their opinion on it. Let them know, because a lot of people are shut-ins or whatever. And let them know that this kind of hanky-panky is going on from the state. No, it's like who said it was a broad, Carl said it was a broad brush, and it is. It's probably a case of somebody, trying to get their way, some other politician somewhere and got caught, and so we're going to throw a blanket ordinance over everybody. It's just not right. We need to run our city the way we run our city, because we've been past.
Okay. Thank you all very much for all the comments. And as time goes on, I'm sure there are going to be more questions generated from what the demographer finds and does and whatever. But we have an opportunity to at least be involved in the process. And that's very, very important.
And this is just the first of 3 hearings, so
right.
It should be first of 4 hearings. So people should understand that the next ones are coming meeting by meeting.
Okay, let's move on to something more pleasant. Let's move on to item number 10. I hope it's pleasant.
Yeah, it's good news. Honorable Mayor and Council members, the item before you that I have tonight is the Northside Sidewalks Improvement Project Award. A little bit of an improvement for our city, so hopefully you guys would agree with me that it's a positive thing. Anyway, as background, the Community Development Block Grant Program, something we've received relative to road work, smaller pots of money from over the last decades or so, is assigned to us for disadvantaged neighborhoods within our community, and it's funding that can be utilized for a relatively small batch of eligible projects and only in those communities. So for instance, the curb gutter construction in the area north of the tracks around Green Street is in the primary downtown is probably been the source of that money, or the location where we spend that money on a pretty regular basis. Anyway, we received an apportionment of about $150,000, which is approximately 3 years of our allocation. And a number of years ago, we allocated that work to North Green Street, I Street, East H Street, collectively known as the Northside Sidewalks Project. On June 29th, advertising began for the project, and the staff opened the bids for that project on August 10th, and the bid results are included in your staff report. Our obligation as staff is to review the bids received for compliance with Public Contract Code. We did that and confirmed that the apparent low bidder provided a responsive bid. The bid was also provided from S&H Civil Works to the CDBG staff for their concurrence that the bid was in order, and they did provide that concurrence to us in writing. So the next step then is to move forward with the project. The fiscal impact on the project, the engineer's estimate was $217,000. Which puts it pretty close to the number, so it's good to get one that came in close. And the Community Development Block Grant for funds allocated for the project total $150,000, with the remaining funds to be coming from the leftover RDA or redevelopment agency funds. And so the total budget for the project falls within that available budget, and therefore there's no out-of-pocket expense for us in terms of the general fund. and the project was budgeted for this fiscal year. So my recommendation is that you award the Northside Sidewalks project as S&H civil work in the amount of $227,960 and authorize the city manager to approve any necessary change orders up to a maximum of 5% of the original contract, or $11,398. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, at this time, is there anybody from the audience that wishes to have a question? Seeing none, council?
Mr. Mayor, I only have one comment. I think a project like this in a neighborhood that may be considered disadvantaged is very advantageous to the folks that live in that area. My only concern, and Jay, you and I have talked about this, is that particular stretch where these sidewalks are going to go, are going to lose all the trees. And you know, if you've got a nice shade tree in front of your house, you water it, you prune it, you rake the leaves. I mean, it's your little piece of nature. And I hope that we can work as much as possible with the homeowners that may be impacted on this. That, you know, I don't know if we have in our design plans the ability to sort of jet out around a tree or do some other stuff that preserves those. But that's important. I think it's important for us as a community to have good, healthy, full-grown, mature trees in our area, and I think it's important for the homeowners also.
Yeah, I'd be, to respond to that, I did go through the plans after you and I last talked about it. There's about a dozen trees or so in the alignment, and thankfully only one is looking likely to be taken down, and it's not one of the more mature ones on the block. So we did do just what you suggested, which is kind of try to navigate our design around. Sometimes it's the sidewalk will be adjacent to the curb, sometimes it won't be, but it's all within right of way through that area. There are some shrubs that are going to be taken out, but in general, yeah, we agree. Taking out trees is expensive too, so we try to avoid it simply for monetary reasons. So happy to report that the footprint's pretty light.
Yeah, that's fantastic news. I think originally we had counted maybe up to 7 trees we're going to need to be removed. If we're down to 1, that's a huge benefit. Thanks, Jay.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Jay, do we have any background on these folks? Do we have a track record on S&H at all?
Fair question. No. They have bid our projects before on several occasions. They simply haven't won any of them yet. So no, I don't know a lot about them. So thankfully, actually, these are good moments for us. This is a relatively straightforward project and a relatively low budget project, which means less liability usually in my world. And so if I'm going to cut my teeth on somebody I've never worked with before, this is the kind of project we want to do on. But no, I don't know a lot about them. But we'll see how it goes.
Second question was what their starting time frame would be.
As you all know, or maybe you guys don't, our standard contract provision is that the clock starts on award. So I will send out a letter tomorrow if you guys accept my recommendation to approve the project, starting the clock for the project. Off the top of my head, I want to say it's about 100 to 120 day contract, and so it's a consecutive calendar day contract. So the intent is to finish this before Christmas. I think, frankly, if they mobilize, usually it takes them a couple of weeks to get the contracts and paperwork in order. So hopefully they'll be breaking ground before the end of the month of September. And quite frankly, it's a straightforward project. If they work diligently, they could be done before Thanksgiving. So I'll know more. If feel free to ask me in the coming meetings, as give me a couple meetings to know. But and then also maybe it's a good opportunity to point out that Key and I spent a lot of time putting out some videos on the website and on the Facebook page, and we try to give you guys updates in those videos or written updates that talk to you about timelines for projects or project status. So if you ever have questions, that's a great place to go in terms of finding out why we're destroying your commute or your world or something as we're working through projects. So we try to push that data out.
The reason I ask that is because in my neighborhood, all the cement was poured. It was cold, and it's all popped throughout the mids. It's the worst cement in the city. I hate to see that again.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, we have. Do I have a motion on the item as discussed? Item number 10.
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
I have a motion and a second on the item number 10 as discussed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed? Let the record show 5 ayes. Thank you. And city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor Grimes. We have another photo of the mayor from last night. Not to make a habit of this, but we have
That's a
photo.
bad picture. They got me when I wasn't holding it in. So.
There you go.
Or were you?
Yeah.
Maybe I was. I don't know.
The photo is meant to emphasize the fact that we have great working relationships with our lawmakers. Governor McCarthy, Vince Baum, Zach Scrivener, and others. Mr. McCarthy visited, Congressman McCarthy visited City Hall. Chris Kirk was there. Thank you, Chris, for participating in that meeting. But we talked to Congressman McCarthy about a whole host of things. State Highway 58, which is only a state highway at this point, but a logical extension of I-40 at some point. Funding revenues, how much paper and bureaucracy we must push just to lay a little asphalt for Jay's purposes. It's mind-boggling for Hannah, the amount of accountants that we have to hire to track these sorts of things. And he listened, so that was great. So thank you, Mayor Grimes, and thank you, Congressman McCarthy, for visiting City Hall, taking the time out. The 5 AED units that were donated by Mr. Hall from Hall Ambulance have all been installed in the city facilities. So thank you to Tyler Napier, the city utility manager, for heading up that project and getting the units installed, and we'll be training the employees here soon. We did take CPR and AED training about 18 months ago, but we'll be refreshing ourselves on that. So very excited and thankful to Mr. Hall for that. Also tomorrow at 11 a.m. up at Post 11 on Pinion Street, the Hall Ambulance Facility, Mr. Hall will be bringing in a couple new 4x4 ambulances. So he is continually investing in the public safety in the city of Tehachapi and this community. So we're very excited about that. If you need an ambulance in the snow, or the mud, the rain, different things like that. So he's investing heavily in our community. So I want to thank him for that. And everybody is invited. So tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock, Post 11 on Pinion Street in the city of Tehachapi. Also, we're wrapping up the project along Valley. Dennison and Anita Snyder and Curry Griffith Company has done a very good job for the city of Tehachapi. I know it's been several months, but it has gone along on schedule, on budget. We'd like to thank everybody for their patience on that project. But once finished here in the next couple of weeks, I think you'll agree with me that the sidewalks and the crosswalks and the enhancements that we've done in those areas are very beneficial to the safety of our residents. And then fall's approaching, right? So we have a couple things that are happening. Our bike lane, East Tehachapi bike lane, the city council approved some meetings ago. We'll be starting here very soon. So that will remind everybody that's from Hayes to Stuber, approximately on the north side of Tehachapi Boulevard, between the boulevard and the railroad tracks. Curb, gutter, sidewalks, storm drain, bike path, those sorts of things. So it's going to be a very exciting project for our city to make things, again, safer in and around. Mayor Pro Tem, myself and others, you can see the photo there. We attended the KCAC meeting in chapter. KCAC stands for Kern County Association. County Association of Cities, thank you. Chapter hosted a great meeting, and we basically break bread with our colleagues from the other cities. There are 11 cities in the county of Kern, and we talk about our challenges and also our things that are going well. And the Fondo, 4th Annual Tehachapi Grand Fondo is Friday, well, it's Saturday actually, but Friday there's a pasta dinner. And then on Saturday, September 16th, we expect 1,000 riders to be taking off from downtown Tehachapi. So we're very excited about that. Michelle Dance obviously is with the Parks District these days, but she is our #1 volunteer in helping us. She's the race director along with Chris Kirk, race director for this year. I think you knew that already, did you not, Chris? Okay, good. Now you're here. No, really, we're very excited, and it brings a lot of attention to our city and our community, and I want to thank all the partners that engage all the way from Stallion Springs to Sand Canyon, Bear Valley, Golden Hills, Kern County Sheriff, and of course our very own Tehachapi Police Department work well together with this bike race. And then this Saturday, this Saturday is the Tehachapi Society Pilot Celebration Flight. It's at the airport, starts at 8 o'clock in the morning, goes until 4 p.m. They'll be giving rides to children to let them experience flight. You do have to sign up for that. I know that in the Loop and the Tehachapi News there's some information. We've also put it on our Facebook, I believe, Keith, about a week ago, and maybe we'll post it again. Very exciting to get the youth up in the air and get them enthused about aviation. So that's this Saturday at the Tehachapi Airport.
Bravo. And
that's all I have for this evening. Thank you, sir.
In regards to the Grand Fondo, I'm looking for a bike with training wheels, so because I want to be out there in front, pedaling as fast as I can, and I can probably only go a half a mile, but anyway. I thought I'd say that before somebody else said it. Anyway, we have council member reports at this time. Start again.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. We'd just like to report that I attended the last chamber meeting in Mojave, and it was a great, basically full house event that the discussion revolved around the legalization of marijuana and what will happen or what potentially could happen in Kern County should the floodgates open. It's significant in nature, and I know we've talked about this as a council in the past. Rosamond had a huge problem with dispensaries that were open that were not certified, legalized, and approved. The county has gone in and basically closed those entities down. But the numbers, the amount of tax revenue generated, the cost to the communities in Kern County, should wrong decisions be made regarding this, are monumental. And it was a real eye-opener for me to hear that coming from Lorelei Aviat, from Zach Scrivener, and from some of the other folks who have opinions. And we're still at this point, I think, trying to decide which direction this will go. And the example that we've all discussed or heard about is what's happening in California City. And the California City model, if you will, could change the way things are looked at. Not necessarily good, not necessarily bad, but it's going to be a different way that we look at legalized marijuana. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
I don't have anything, but I'd like to note marijuana review committee will be meeting September 20th at City Hall to talk about next steps. So we are doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Go ahead.
Since you broached that subject, I was driving to work one morning. I come into Mojave and giant billboard letting you know where the marijuana is being sold in Rosamond. He comes down into Lancaster, welcomed by the motocross track, another great big billboard advertising the marijuana in Rosamond. And I asked Greg, please let us get some control, which I believe we do have, over our billboards here, because whether it comes or it doesn't come, we don't need it plastered at the entrance to our city that, come and get it. But I'm just telling you, I would fight that as hard as I can, because that's your image of your city. Welcome to Mojave, and this big sign there, or even Lancaster. That's image is a lot. So if we have any control over billboards and whatever, could you just say a little bit how much control we can at least have, or have first right of refusal, and we can use the billboard for something else until we're not here anymore.
Right, good comment. So we do have, just to remind everybody, as Mayor Pro Tem Wiggins pointed out, we have a marijuana committee, if you will, The mayor appointed Ms. Wiggins and Mr. Wallstrom. We meet on a regular basis. The county of Kern has been working on this. It's been very fluid. We have an emergency ordinance that is in place. We'll probably ask for your permission to extend that at some point because we want to buy ourselves a little more time because we don't want to get the cart before the horse. Couldn't agree more with all the comments that have been said. But specifically with the billboards. The city of Tehachapi owns the 5 billboards on the airport property, so all the billboards that are put on those billboards are approved by me. That revenue goes into the airport enterprise fund, so none of those would ever be used as, while I'm city manager, as advertising for fun. There are 3, maybe 4 billboards in the downtown area that are owned and controlled by Lamar. Lamar is a large national company that owns and manages billboards. Ashley has got us on the list, and we've got the first right of refusal. So I want to own those billboards. Maybe we just put "Welcome to Tehachapi," and that's it. And we do that for years and years and years, just so that we can control the message. But as those become available, I don't want to say we're next in line, but we're in line to seize those and control that message for the billboards that are in the city of Tehachapi. Lorelei has been going around. I know she's going to the Maui Chamber of Commerce. Ashley has also attended some meetings on behalf of the city and heard Lorelei speak about the direction that the county may be going. And you're right, Mr. Hedke, the revenue is there, but so is the burden of managing and maintaining. So we have recreational marijuana, we have medical marijuana, and then we have growing of the marijuana. So the landscape is changing ever so rapidly. We are keeping up, and we'll be meeting again, as Susan pointed out, on the 20th, I believe, at City Hall with the committee. And we'll be discussing all of the elements that we were aware of at this point, and bringing back to you, I believe, permission to extend the emergency ordinance for another couple of months, whatever is legally available to us.
Greg, is Chief of Police involved in this?
Yes, absolutely. Chief Krager is absolutely on the committee.
Because I know you arrest for drunk driving, but what's the limit for people on this stuff?
One of those questions that cannot be answered at this point.
That's right.
It's a big problem.
Yes, it is.
Another follow-up question on billboards. Outside the city limits within our sphere of influence in the county areas, are there any restrictions at the moment for, like, between here and Golden Hills or out in the county along the freeway?
The state does have restrictions on billboards. It's a very long process to get a billboard approved, a new billboard, if you will. I cannot foresee any new billboards along State Highway 202. Highway 58, I would venture to say the same thing. I don't want to say for sure, but so Jay, maybe you can comment if you know, you work with Caltrans quite a bit, but that's a very expensive, time-consuming process to process just a simple sign, much less a billboard.
But if one goes up and it's to the entrance of our city outside the city limits in the Caltrans right away or whatever, can we get on a list to have the first right of refusal of those, even though they may be difficult for someone to erect one? Money or everything, follow the money. If there's enough money, someone will get a billboard.
We'll do 2 things. One is we're going to get on the list for the other billboards between, say, Cache Creek and Keene.
Okay.
I'll expand that territory. And also, Jay, if you can talk to Caltrans, if anybody applies for a permit to put up a new sign, they can alert us.
Okay. Just so we're ahead of this, that we don't regret a sign in perpetuity for marijuana. That's all we don't want. Anyway, thank you.
Dennis? Nothing? The only thing I have, I read with interest that the City Council of Sacramento voted to pay $1 million a year to gangs if they wouldn't kill people. Folks, that will never happen here in Tehachapi. And it just shows Sacramento in all levels is out of control. Out of control. They are actually paying gang members $1 million a year so that they don't kill people.
Can I enhance that a little bit? Our crime rate has gone down for 2 years in a row. That did not happen by accident. With the leadership that we have, Mr. King Craver, that's why that happened.
Anyway, with that said, we're going to go into closed session. If we have something to report out, we will at the appropriate time afterwards. Thank you.
I don't know. That would be a great question. Nobody's ever asked that. I don't object to that, but I'm not. Why not just get the guy and check it? Well, I heard it. I want to tell her. Hey, Greg. Thank you. And then tell you my idea. I think we absolutely go to.
Let's stop 12 miles ahead.
Actually, it might work.
So you're the only one mentioned in the fire department.
I know, that was the great, I told the mayor that was a good $20 I put.
Jay, so you're going to do Caltrans about that?
Well, Caltrans,
I don't know, I didn't
I
even.
can. They're going to get, there's no application. I don't have a formal prohibition. So what happens is people get.
I don't know how they do it. I've done it in some counties since
They fall on something else.
And someday, I'm going to
I'll give a call, I'll confirm my
my
understanding of their
brother said no one will buy it or believe it.
Why are you starting?
Because I look at this, the mayor's not going to rent it. The city manager's resigning. The SCE, SCE's had to say, people's movement. And the trade, that Nat Nicholson got a big